Hello, 8th graders. This is Teacher Monica, and welcome to our discussion on Quarter 4 lessons. Module 1 lessons discusses theorems on triangle inequalities, and this learning material will help you master theorems on triangle inequalities in one triangle, triangle inequalities in two triangles, and prove triangle inequalities. For this video lesson, we will be discussing Lesson 3, which is proving triangle inequalities. But before we proceed with proving triangle inequalities, let us recall first the different theorems on triangle inequalities, because this will help us identify or determine what theorems are we going to use as our reason in proving triangle inequalities or in completing the two-column proof. So let us have the number 1. What theorem states that the measure of an exterior angle is always greater than the measure of any two remote interior angles in a triangle? So we have exterior angle inequality theorem. Next, what theorem states that the sum of the lengths of any two sides of a triangle is greater than the length of the third? So we have triangle inequality theorem. Next, what triangle or what theorem states that if one angle is larger than the other angle, the side opposite the larger angle is the longer side? So we have angle side inequality theorem. Next, what theorem states that if one side is longer than the other side, the angle opposite the longer side is the larger angle? So we have side angle inequality theorem. Next, what theorem states that if two sides of a triangle are congruent to two sides of another triangle, and the included angle of the first triangle is greater than the included angle of the second, then the third side of the first triangle is longer than the third side of the second triangle? It is the hinge theorem or the SAS or the side angle side inequality theorem. And what theorem states that if two sides of a triangle are congruent to two sides of another triangle, and the third side of the first is longer than the third side of the second, then the included angle in the first triangle is greater than the included angle in the second triangle? It is the converse of Hin's theorem or the SSS or side-side-side inequality theorem. Now let us take this example. In the illustration, we have triangle HEO and triangle PHE. So given in the triangle R, side OP is congruent to side PH, and side PH is also congruent to side HE. So the markings here, itong mga marks na ito, indicates that the three sides are congruent. And by transitive property, side OP is also congruent to side HE. Kasi nga, si side OP, congruent siya kay side PH, si side PH, congruent kay side HE. So by transitive property, side OP is also congruent to side HE. And also given in the figure that the measure of angle E is greater than the measure of angle 1. So, nilakihan ko na dito yung angle, yung illustration na nagpapakita that angle E is greater than angle 1. Now, we are going to prove that side HO is greater than side PE. So this is our side HO and this is our side PE. So, paano natin ma-prove that side HO is greater than side PE? So we will use the two-column proof. So we have the table for the statements and the reason. So, una, we are going to write here side OP is congruent to side PH and side PH is congruent to side HE. What is our reason? It is already given in the problem. Next, we have the measure of angle E is greater than the measure of angle 1. So makita natin dito that the measure of angle E is greater than the measure of angle 1. So what is our reason? Still given dahil nandyan siya sa problem. Now, we are going to prove that side HO, eto na side, is greater than side PE. So, paano kaya natin ma-prove at what is our reason na ibibigay to prove that side HO is greater than side PE? So, isa sa mga given sa problem ay ang measure ng angle E, and that is greater than the measure of angle 1. So, by angle-side inequality theorem, we can say or we can justify na talagang side HO is greater than side PE. Bakit? Because according to the angle-side inequality theorem, if one angle is greater than the other angle, then the opposite side of the larger angle is the longer side. Now, since angle E dito ang may greater measure compared to angle 1, then yung opposite side niya, which is side HO, ang merong greater length o a greater measure of length. So, mas mahaba si side HO compared to side PE. So, ito yung ating magiging justification or reason to prove that side HO is greater than side PE. Anong reason natin again? The definition or the application of the angle-side inequality theorem. Again, sa angle-side inequality theorem, nagsasabi na yung angle na mayroong greater measure ang opposite side niya, yun ang merong greater or longer measure of length. Since angle E dito ang merong mas malaking measure of angle compared to angle 1, it follows na yung opposite side niya, which is side HO, ang siya ding greater than side PE. Next, we have example number 2. In the illustration, it shows that side ED is congruent to side BC. Kita natin sa markings that they are congruent. Another given in the illustration is side CE is greater than side DB. So we have here our side CE. Ito daw ay greater than side DB. So we are going to prove that side AC is greater than side AD. So asa si side AD? Ito si side AD and this is side AC. So i-prove din natin that side AC is greater than side AD. So what will be our two-column proof? So first, we have side ED is congruent to side BC and side CE is greater than side DB. So ano magiging reason natin? Bakit yan ang una nating inilagay? Because it is already given in the problem. Now, ano ang ilalagay natin sa second statement? Take note that in the given problem, side CE is greater than side DB. So, kung mas mahaba si side CE kaysa kay side DB, ibig sabihin, yung opposite side ni side CE, opposite angle I mean ni side CE, which is angle D, ay may mas greater measure of angle than the angle opposite side BD, ito, which is angle C. Kung mas mahaba si CE, ibig sabihin, ang angle opposite the side, which is angle D, ay mayroong mas mahaba or mas greater measure of an angle. Habang ito naman si side BD ay mas maikli ang kanyang measure compared to side CE, ibig din sabihin, yung opposite angle niya, which is angle C, ay merong mas maliit na measure of angle. So, from that, we can use as our second statement na ay the measure of angle D is greater than the measure of angle C. So, anong reason natin? It's the application of the side angle inequality theorem that states that if one side is longer than the angle opposite the longer side is the larger angle. So again, if one side is longer than the other side, then the angle opposite the longer side is the larger angle. So, meaning the measure of angle D is greater than the measure of angle C. Now, since it is stated in the second statement that the measure of angle D, ito, is greater than the measure of angle C, this one, so we can say or we can prove that side AC is really greater than side AD. So we can prove na itong si side AC ay talagang greater than side AD. And that is because of the application of the angle side inequality theorem. Anong sinasaad sa angle side inequality theorem? If one angle is greater than the other angle, in this case, si angle D is greater than angle C, then the opposite side, itong opposite side ni angle D, which is side AC, ay longer. Mas mahaba talaga siya compared sa opposite side ni angle C, which is ang side AD. Therefore, we can say that side AC is greater than side AD. Next, we have example number 3. The illustration shows that side VM is congruent to side JD. So this is our side VM and our side JD. The two marks here indicates that the two sides are congruent. Then MJ is less than side VD. This is our side MJ at sinasabi that this is less than side VD. So we are going to prove now that the measure of angle 1 is less than the measure of angle 4. So how are we going to present that in the two-column proof? So this is our table. Now, our first statement will be side VM is congruent to side JD. At anong reason natin dyan? It's given. Now, anong ilalagay natin sa ating second statement? If you have noticed or if you have observed, ipinakita sa illustration that triangle MVJ and triangle VJD shared a common side, and that is side JV or side VJ. So, pwede natin yang gamitin as our second statement. So we have side VJ is congruent to side VJ. Anong ilalagay natin sa reason? It's the application of reflexive property. Now, ano pang pwede nating ilagay sa statement? We can also put the other given. So we have side MJ is less than side VD. Ang reason is, it is already given. Now, since it is stated in the third statement that side MJ is less than side VD, so we can prove that the measure of angle 1 is less than the measure of angle 4. So, paano natin siya ipoprove? So, ilagay natin yan as our fourth statement dahil yun ay ating i-prove. So, how are we going to prove now that the measure of angle 1 is less than the measure of angle 4? So, what will be our reason? So, pwede natin gamitin ang SSS inequality theorem or the converse of Hines theorem. Anong sinasabi sa theorem na ito? It states that if two sides of a triangle are congruent, two sides of the triangle are congruent to two sides of another triangle, then the third side of the first is longer than the third side of the second. Then, the included angle in the first triangle is greater than the included angle in the second triangle. Pero sinabi dito that MJ, that is the third side of the first triangle. And side VD, this is the third side of the second triangle. So makikita natin dito that the third side of the second triangle is longer than the third side of the first triangle. Therefore, mas malaki itong kanyang angle. Ito naman ay mas maliit. Kaya, the statement number 4 that states that the measure of angle 1 is less than the measure of angle 4 can be proven by the SSS inequality theorem or the converse of the Hinge theorem. Next, we have example number 4. Given in the illustration is triangle OLE. Also, we have the markings here, which indicates that side LO is congruent to side VE. So, how are we going to prove that side LE is greater than side OV? So, ito yung ipoprove natin. Side LE, this side, is greater than side OV. So, how are we going to present that in our two-column proof? So, our first statement will be side LO is congruent to side EV. And the reason is given. It is already given. So, for our statement number 2, observe that the two triangles here, triangle OLV and triangle LVE, shared a common side, which is side LV. So we can use that as our second statement. So we have side LV is congruent to side LV. So what will be our reason? So we can say that it is a definition of a reflexive property. Now, what will be our third statement? Since ang kailangan nating i-prove ay si side LE is greater than side OV, makikita natin na ang side LE ay nasa kabilang side at si side OV naman ay nasa kabilang angle naman. So, tingnan natin kung aling angle ang mas greater. So, it shows here that the measure of angle 1 is greater than the measure of angle 2. Ipinapakita din dito that angle 1 is an exterior angle of triangle OLV. And based on the definition of an exterior angle, which states that the measure of the exterior angle is equal to the sum of the measure of its two remote angles. So the sum of these two remote interior angles, we have angle 2 and angle O, is equal to the measure of angle 1. So meaning, si angle 2 ay mas maliit kay angle 1. And the measure of angle O is also lesser than the measure of angle 1. So for our statement number 3, we can say that the measure of angle 1 is greater than the measure of angle 2, and that can be justified by exterior angle inequality theorem. Now, since we have identified that the measure of angle 1 is greater than the measure of angle 2, we can also say that side LE is greater than side OV. And that can be proven by the SAS inequality theorem or the Hines theorem. So again, sinasabi sa Hines theorem na kung ano yung triangle na merong mas malaking measure of angle, yung opposite side niya, yun ang may mas greater measure of length. Therefore, side LE is greater than side OV. Okay, try this activity. You complete the following proof by adding the missing statements or reason. So we have here in number 2, the missing part is on the statement. In number 3, the missing part is on the reason. For number 4, the missing part is on the statement. Number 5, the missing part is in the reason. And for number 6, the missing statement or the missing part is on the reason. Now, I will be giving you 2 minutes to answer this activity. Okay, time is up. Let us now answer question number 1. So what is the statement for reason 2? The given reason for number 2 is an angle bisector divides an angle into two equal parts. So, as seen in the figure, side VE divides angle E into two congruent parts. We have angle 3 and angle 6. So, for our statement number 2, we have angle 3 is congruent to angle 6. Because of the reason, an angle bisector divides an angle into two congruent parts. Next, we have question number 2. So question number 2 states that what is the reason for statement 3? So, ang hinahanap naman natin dito is the reason. The statement is, the measure of angle 4 is equal to the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 3. So if this is the statement, what will be our reason? So remember that the exterior angle of a triangle is equal to the sum of the two non-adjacent interior angle. So angle 4 here is the exterior angle of triangle VSE, and angle 1 and angle 3 are the two non-adjacent interior angles of triangle VSE. So the exterior angle of a triangle is equal to the sum of the two non-adjacent interior angles of a triangle. Therefore, we can justify the statement measure of angle 4 is equal to the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 3 by the exterior angle inequality theorem. Next question. What is the missing angle in statement 4? So we have here the missing angle. So the reason is the whole is greater than its part. So ano kaya yung missing angle dito? Now, the answer is the measure of angle 4 is greater than the measure of angle 3. So bakit kaya? Because you have found in the previous statement that the measure of angle 4 is equal to the measure of angle 1 plus the measure of angle 3. So, ibig sabihin, ang measure ng angle 1 is lesser than the measure of angle 4 kasi part lang si angle 1 ni angle 4. Also, the measure of angle 3 is lesser than the measure of angle 4 kasi part lang din si angle 3 ni angle 4. Dahil kailangan mo pang i-add ang measure ni angle 1 at ni angle 3 para maging equal sa measure ni angle 4. Kaya, in the statement, we can say that the measure of angle 4 is greater than the measure of angle 3. Anong reason yan? The whole is greater than its part, which means that the measure of angle 4 is greater than its part, which is the measure of angle 3. Okay, next we have question number 4. What is the reason for statement 5? So our statement 5 here says that if the measure of angle 4 is greater than the measure of angle 6. So what is the reason for that claim? So the reason is the application of the transitive property. So bakit? Because in the figure, we can say, or it shows that angle 3 is congruent to angle 6 because it is divided by, or angle E here is divided by the angle bisector line segment VE. Line segment VE divides angle E into two congruent parts. So meaning, angle 3 is congruent to angle 6. And if the measure of angle 4 is greater than the measure of angle 3, then by transitive property, we can also say that angle 4 is greater than the measure of angle 6. Kasi nga, si angle 3 at si angle 6 ay congruent. So, pag mas malaki si angle 4 kay angle 3, ibig sabihin, mas malaki din si angle 4 kay angle 6. Anong reason natin dyan? It's the transitive property. Next, we have question number 5. What is the reason for statement 6? So, our statement 6 is line or side ET is greater than side TV. So, this is our side ET and this is our side TV. It says in the statement that side ET is greater than side TV. So what is the reason? So the reason is the longest side is opposite the largest angle. Now, in a triangle, it says that the longest side is opposite the largest angle. So we have here side ET is the opposite side of angle 4. And side TV is the opposite side of angle 6. Now you have discovered that angle 4 is greater than the measure of angle 6. So the longest side now is the one that is opposite the larger angle, and that is side ET. Therefore, in the statement which says that side ET is greater than side TV, that is true, and the reason for that is the longest side is opposite the largest angle. That's all for this video. I hope you have learned something. Good day.